welcome back to the Today Show. With us today is Bilal Vakani from SIRIUS XM, channel 167. So, question for you. You were talking about the hip-hop channel. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, SIRIUS XM has actually launched a whole hip-hop dedicated channel now. Is that right?
Yeah, no, it's a big deal because we are known for The Verge, which is an alt rock channel. We have North Americana, which is sort of a mix of a couple genres. We have Top of the Country, and we had an opportunity to bring in a new channel. And what made the most sense to the people a lot smarter than me, I just kind of helped them put a lot of the hip hop. I helped them put in, I think, 500 of the hip hop tracks. So that was a lot of my life for a long time. But essentially, somebody much smarter than me said, "Look, there's a genre of music we haven't serviced." And I was watching The Voice with my wife the other night, and it's there's not exactly a hip hop judge on there as well. And this is a genre, especially in Canada. And while we were going through this process, I got to interview Akon, who's the great hip hop artist. And when I brought up Canadian hip hop, and I can't repeat exactly what he said because he swore, but essentially, he started listing off Drake, he started listing off The Weeknd, and all these other great Canadians he worked with. And a lot of that genre, Canada has got such a rich history in. So, when you go out, and I think it was Mastermind who built the playlist, and you try to pick 500, 1,000 songs to build just the start of a channel with, it was such a diverse list of those big names, which were probably already playing somewhere on Sirius XM in the US. But then, a lot of us will think of something like Six Buzz as just this weird thing on Instagram where we get, clickbaity stories, but they do like hip hop music and collaborations, which are pretty damn good, I found out. So it's a genre that's just growing and growing and growing. And it was, normally when somebody says you've got to sit there and you've got to bring in 500 tracks to a channel, it's a pretty tedious process. But to actually learn a lot about these artists and listen to a lot of the music, and I probably listened to it more than I should have because the main purpose was to put the music in the system, not to listen to it. It was a really, really cool experience. And, this is a 24-hour channel that's going to probably have a different song almost every time you tune in. So I highly, highly recommend people check it out. I don't even remember the channel number off the top of my head, but if you go into the SiriusXM app, you type in Mixtape North, you're going to find it. And, it's really, really cool. And I know we have some free trials that I think are just around the corner. So, if you keep an eye for those, you can basically check it out for free.
That's awesome. I have a question for you, and you and I were kind of chatting about this. I'm going to surprise you with this one. With Sirius XM,
Mm.
now a lot of the newer vehicles get Sirius XM on a trial basis and things like this. Is there a specific car or manufacturer that doesn't already have Sirius XM in there that perhaps we could kind of look at in the future saying, Ford, GM, all these guys have it. This guy doesn't. Who is that guy?
It's Tesla, and we all know Elon Musk, so it's not a big surprise. I think he has his own, and I don't understand this. He has his own entertainment suite, which I can't really tell you what's on it because my dad has a Tesla. I got in it and I looked at it, and I'm like, I don't know what any of these things are, but it might be good. I don't know. But the good thing is, we live in this Apple CarPlay, Android Auto world where if you're a Sirius XM subscriber, just make sure you have the app set up and you can use your app in the car and you can have access to it. It is an extra little bit of work, and I had that experience with my dad where, um, but it was sort of gratifying in a way because he basically would text me and would say something like, I love this new car, but where the hell's my Sirius XM? I need to listen to CNN because that's what, my dad's like almost 70, or maybe he is. I don't know. I can't do math. He's very old. So his idea of great radio is just listening to the CNN television feed, which is a Sirius XM channel. I would argue there are 200 more engaging channels that are formatted for audio that will be a better experience for you. Um, but that's his channel, and that's what a little bit of Shade 45 too. My dad's a bit of a gangster. But those are his channels. So he, it was sort of gratifying that he came to me and said, look, I need this in my car. This is the one thing I don't have. Otherwise, I'm very happy. And it wasn't a hard process. I obviously could get him in on my company account. But for anyone else, it's pretty much as easy as opening the app on your phone. And if you already have an account from your previous car, making sure it's all set to go, And if you don't, setting up a free trial, and whether it's 14 days or 30 days, you're in a good spot to see if that works for you. And if it works for you, you can continue. And if it doesn't work, look, we're going to miss you a lot, but hopefully it works.
Fair enough. Well, I really appreciate that. So maybe Tesla will send you a free car with Sirius XM in it. You never know.
Yeah, they'll send me the first one, I'm sure. I'll just be waiting, and then I got to figure out where to plug it in a condo in downtown Toronto. That'll be my first
Yeah,
issue.
that or a DeLorean for sure. So when we talk about Sirius XM and we talk about all these different platforms and apps that we have, I mean, I think one of the competitors for you guys is Spotify.
Yep.
So walk me through, and I don't have Spotify, I don't have Sirius XM. If I'm gonna get one of these things tomorrow, why Sirius XM?
So that's a great question. And look, I will admit, I pay for Spotify. I use it because I'm the senior producer of podcasts. It won't surprise you to know I'm crazy about podcasts, right? Like there is, and I won't get too specific, but let's just say there's some nice chaps in the UK who do a hilarious wrestling podcast, and I listen to them religiously. I would very much like them to join the SiriusXM family, but that's not up to me. Um, but look, I understand for the people who want that experience. What I would tell you is, there's a big difference between. I think what Spotify is and what it does well is it aggregates a lot of content. And, to be fair, a lot of our podcasts, Peter Mansbridge and Bob McCowan, who I mentioned, you can get them on Spotify. So even if you're not willing to pay, you still have access to some level of SiriusXM content. You're not going to get me because I don't give my stuff away. That's not what I do. And also, they won't let me. But no, I'm kidding. But so yeah, so it's there. You can get the free content. You can build a very nice playlist. You can save it. You can take it with you. But when you get SiriusXM, you have, depending on your package, because the channels will vary, but you're getting a mix of talk programming, live sports, music, and there are, through our relationship with Pandora, we do have those curated shuffle channels. But I'll tell you, one of the things I love to do, and to be fair, this is because the company gave me a Google Home a couple Christmases ago. I have a Google Home, and I can only do this when my wife's not home. Otherwise, this will annoy her way too much. But I can yell at it and say, well, not yell at it, at a pretty regular voice. I can say, and I won't say it all because then it's going to go off during this interview. Basically, hey, you know what? I want to listen to Alt Nation, and what I'll get is not just a lot of alt rock that's my genre that I love, but I get a host who, and it's a variety of hosts, but a bunch of hosts who I really like and respect, some of which I know through working with SiriusXM, some I don't. And they have, music on Discovery where Alt Nation is one of those channels, which is the first to get that new alt rock track. They even have a diversity initiative where they're giving you diverse artists seemingly every hour. And that curated playlist or curated talk, if that's what you're going for in Canada Talks, for example, it's really, really special. And I think, with the exceptions of the content we do put out as podcasts and collaboration, I was telling you before I got to chat with Tony Khan. He did Hits One, he did me, and then he did a Media Scrum press conference. That press conference has very limited availability. It's primarily, audio after the fact, and, you're going to go on Twitter and see little clips. I had 10 minutes with him where I got to chat with him about whatever I wanted. And the same day, I spoke to Nickelback, and I was able to do an interview, which was my interview. It wasn't the standard, like, oh, I'm the music guy, and here's Nickelback. It was, you know what? I'm 34. One of the last CDs I had was Silver Side Up. I hope you guys are going back to the classics. Even further than that, I want you guys to go back to Worthy to Say. And I did a rendition of how Worthy to Say would work with legalization, which I won't spoil. You'll have to listen to that in the SiriusXM app. And Chad Kroger started to sing a version that mixed a little bit of the new one and the old song. And it's those organic experiences. And we, because of the brand of SiriusXM, people like Tony Khan, Melanie C from the Spice Girls, I get to interview these people multiple times. And I build up such a relationship with these people. With Mel C, when I finished the interview with her last time when she was in New York, she was asking me about my sister because I told her the first time I interviewed her about how my sister was a Spice Girls fan and she was an up and coming criminal defense lawyer. And, now she's not up and coming. She's a pretty badass criminal defense lawyer who you don't want to mess with. Um, and she was asking me about that. And those connections, and I came from TSN 1050 where they do have connections in some ways, but I just think It's kind of like Netflix. If you want a little bit more than what's out there, it's like Netflix versus YouTube. If you want a little bit more than what's out there for free, we can give it to you at a pretty affordable price. And now we do have plans where if you're not so interested in the sports, you don't really have to pay for the sports. If you're interested in the sports, we'll give you pretty much all the sports you can throw a stick at, but it is all there for you.
Wonderful. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.